Hey, what's going on, guys? The Horror Man back with a controversial view of Seventh Heaven? Controversial View is the series in which Jason from Horrific Nightmares and I usually watch controversial movies and discuss them. But since it's a new year, we've decided to add something new into the mix. Probably once a month or so, we'll be adding a controversial TV show to the lineup. Just like with the controversial movies we cover in this series, the controversies can vary. These controversies, however, won't always be limited to one specific episode. Many times they will be broader controversies, spanning the entire series. We're kicking off this new aspect of Controversial View with Seventh Heaven. In preparation for these videos, Jason and I watched a couple of Season 1 episodes, but we've both watched the entire show in the past. In fact, I'm very familiar with Seventh Heaven, since I'm currently making my way through the entire series again. I started watching it again last year, after Jason and I watched some movies for Franchise Frenzy. We were on Part 5s, and we watched Boogeyman and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake back to back. Those movies star Barry Watson and Jessica Biel, respectively. That got me thinking about Seventh Heaven, since it had been decades since I had watched it. And so I restarted the series again that night, watching an episode or two most nights before bed. I was already aware of some behind-the-scenes controversies at the time, but I could not believe what I was watching. Seventh Heaven was not the wholesome family show I had remembered it being. Nope, it's much racier in this PC culture. I won't go into all the controversial topics, of course. There's not enough time. But I will cover a few. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Stephen Collins, who plays Reverend Eric Camden in Seventh Heaven. Many of you probably know his inappropriate history in real life. But if you're unaware, I suggest doing your own research. I will say this, however. While I don't condone what he actually did, and I absolutely don't, I want to make that clear, it does seem like many people exaggerate the circumstances. People tend to see headlines and not actually read articles. So yes, what he did was wrong, without a doubt, but he was never criminally charged for any crime. He was, however, pretty much blacklisted. That's why you don't see him starring in much anymore. Ironically, I read that he's married to a much younger woman now. In response to if there would ever be a Seventh Heaven reunion, Catherine Hicks said, "It could be done, as long as Eric Camden is dead." Based on his real-life situation, her solution is to simply kill off his character. And while I'm mentioning Catherine Hicks, I want to go back to another point. I already mentioned Barry Watson and Jessica Biel. Seventh Heaven is very much connected to the horror genre, based on the main cast alone. Think about it. You have Catherine Hicks from Child's Play, Barry Watson from Boogeyman, Jessica Biel from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, Beverly Mitchell was in Saw 2, and David Gallagher was in Boogeyman 2. There are other connections as well with recurring characters, but I won't go into all of them. Another behind-the-scenes controversy regarding Seventh Heaven involves Jessica Biel. She was only 14 years old when the first season was filmed, and her character is only 14 years old. Just a few years later, though, when she was 17 years old in real life, she posed nude for a magazine. This was extremely controversial at the time, considering she was a huge part of Seventh Heaven. Now, I should be clear. The photos were taken when she was 17, but the magazine was not released until her 18th birthday. Still, the controversy was she was part of this, what was supposed to be, wholesome family show at the time. Seventh Heaven would go on for 11 seasons, by the way, so this was still early on in its run. Biel was almost fired completely, but instead, her character was increasingly given lesser storylines. In other words, they sort of phased her out over time. Another controversy involving Jessica Biel takes place right in the pilot episode. Again, her character, Mary, is 14 years old. Her older brother, Matt, played by Barry Watson, is 16 years old, although in real life, he was 8 years older than the 14-year-old Jessica Biel. There's a scene in the very first episode when Mary wants to learn how to kiss. Specifically, she wants to practice kissing older, taller men. You might be thinking it can't possibly go there, but it does. She asks her brother Matt to help her practice. Now, to clarify, they do not show them kissing, but they come pretty damn close. However, supposedly, they did originally film the scene with them actually kissing. Not only is this icky in the context of the show, but it's also wrong in real life, considering their ages. I'd definitely say that's controversial, and anyone who disagrees might be as crazy as this show. Seventh Heaven can be twisted at times. In fact, I'd say it's more often than not. The show also covered other taboo topics over the course of its 11-season run. Teen pregnancy, racism, guns, alcoholism, and who can forget the classic marijuana episode and the one on terrorism. As a matter of fact, in addition to the pilot episode, Jason and I also watched episode 10 of season 1. In that one, Eric's sister, Aunt Julie, is an alcoholic. During one of her withdrawal meltdowns, she gets aggressively violent with Simon. It's incredibly wild and incredibly memorable for those who have seen it. Seventh Heaven is shockingly controversial. For those of you who haven't seen it, don't just brush it off. It's probably also worth mentioning that Seventh Heaven shares executive producers with Beverly Hills 90210, including Aaron Spelling. I guess when you think of that fact, it's not so surprising that Seventh Heaven is controversial. Trust me, this is next-level entertainment that you probably wouldn't expect. I certainly didn't when I started my rewatch, and neither did Jason. He couldn't believe it. But if it's really not your thing, that's fine too. Jason and I watched it, so you don't have to. This is just my controversial view. Please be sure to check out Jason's as well. What are your thoughts on Seventh Heaven? Comment below and let me know. Which controversial movie or show will we view next? Check back soon to find out. Until then, remember, physical media matters. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that thumbs up and be kind. Subscribe.